Who are Afrikaners? Do you mean to say Hollanders? Because Afrikaner was initially used to describe a person who spoke a creolized form of Dutch, created by Africans, Malay, and other populations held in some capacity of bondage at the Dutch-controlled Cape Colony. Their language is Afrikaans. The stratification of Dutch society at the Cape viewed Afrikaans with disdain and considered it improper, which is why we are certain that this language and identity was not created by and for white South Africans with Dutch ancestry, who actually called themselves Hollanders and are still Hollanders, the same way Portuguese are still Portuguese, the British are still English, the Indians are still Indian, and in Indonesia, where the Dutch established a colony called Batavia, they were and are called Belanda, not Indonesian. I hope I got that right. I think I did. The majority of Southern Africans are very well-behaved, polite people who are epigenetically exhausted from over 1,000 years of wars, which is why this likely hasn't been addressed, and some have come to mistake our chill and kindness for stupidity. We're just tired of fighting. Our grandparents' generation in Southern Africa called them Hollanders, or Dutch, or Cape Dutch, not Afrikaner. And anyone that knows the history of Southern Africa doesn't call them Afrikaner. We call them Dutch, Cape Dutch, or Hollanders, but never Afrikaner, ever. And most of the mixed or Afrikaner-speaking descendants who were rebranded by the British to form the Mfecane militias had every desire to identify as European or with European culture. Hell, the Rehoboth bastards in Namibia are still waiting for the Germans to like them. The term Afrikaner was officially appropriated by white supremacists in Southern Africa who officially adopted it as an identity in the 1920s in an effort to justify claim to South African land, because the rise of African socio-economic mobility, stability, status, and wealth amongst Africans, despite the colonial system, threatened to displace them again. They had cried about this before in 1705, which led to a law against interracial marriages and many disadvantages, targeting non-European people. But this time they would find themselves with no place to go for obvious reasons. The British didn't like them. The Netherlands likes to pretend they don't exist, and Southern Africans only like the kind ones. At this point, the British had crossed their arms about Cape Town. They said, "We won the war and you surrendered it." So the Hollanders then decided to claim African land through the coloureds, or Africans with European ancestry, of whom they claimed relation. And to be objective, there were some, because at this point, some were either Afro-presenting or European-presenting. But in most cases, actually 98% of the cases, most were disconnected from their African heritage, cultures, language, and identity. Because there was an effort amongst them, especially the Griqua, in the mid-1800s when the British rebranded them from Bots to Griqua to identify as European, specifically Swarthy Hollanders is what they called themselves. Even though some amongst them still spoke some African languages, which they could have relearned, but the perks of European adjacency were more appealing for them, and they chose to lean into that identity. To understand how this identity crisis came about, we have to go back to the Cape in 1652. But we will save that for the next video. White South Africans who identify as Afrikaner are not Afrikaner, they are Hollanders. We know who they are and the atrocities they committed, which is why we don't ever call them Afrikaner, because that is a grave insult to the people they enslaved, massacred, and destroyed. They are appropriating and masquerading as Afrikaner to conceal their past, while some circles within their population still harbor ambitions of recreating their former atrocities, mocking the very people who suffered at their hands, the same hands that forced them into slavery and made them speak the language of their tormentors. We will not provide them refuge from their past or serve as a safe harbor. They are not Afrikaner. They are Hollanders disguising themselves as Afrikaner to conceal their past atrocities. But I hope you liked this video and found it useful. If you did, please like and subscribe for more. Thank you to all Kofi supporters who make these videos and this research possible. If you would like to show your support, please give to our Kofi. The link is in the description box below. And thank you for watching.